Good evening. Good evening. This is Justin Murphy. And I know that we've just launched this session, so I'm going to give people a little bit of time to be able to join the session. Great, I see a number of people joining. So again, this is the City of Menlo Park Budget Workshop, and we'll be starting shortly. Welcome, everybody. Tuesday evening, Election Day. This session is being recorded, so it'll be available for people after this evening if scheduling is tight for people. So let's see, I think we've got attendees, so probably give it one more minute and then we'll get started. Great. So, okay, well, we'll go ahead and launch into it now. So again, welcome to the City of Menlo Park Budget Workshop for fiscal year 2022-2023. My name is Justin Murphy, and I'm serving as the city's interim city manager. So this evening we have a number of staff members that will be providing the community with an overview of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2022-2023. So next slide, please. So here is the agenda for this evening's presentation. So we'll introduce the key members that comprise the team that worked on preparing the proposed budget, provide an overview of the calendar to date, the historical trends, financial trends that we've seen over the past few years, identify the key budget assumptions put into the preparation of this year's budget, and then we'll go provide overviews on a department by department basis of the key initiatives and accomplishments of various departments. Talk about CIP budget as well, then talk about the next steps in the budget adoption process, and then provide an opportunity for questions about the proposed budget. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mary Morris Mayorga, serving as our interim administrative services director. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mary.
Thank you, Justin. Good evening. Our budget team consists of a lot of individuals, but our key budget team, we have Marvin Davis, the interim finance director. He'll be speaking later. Ronnie Singh, management analyst too. She's been instrumental behind the scenes working on documents, calculations, the OpenGov transparency portal. Myself, I've served in this key role to help guide the process. Nikki Nagaya, public works director, and Brian Henry, Assistant Public Works Director. As you know, the Capital Improvement Program, CIP, is a major driver for the city's budget. So they're key members of the team. Next slide, please. We have other budget contributors for each department. And of course, there's additional support staff that assist these individuals. But in general administration, we have Nicole Casados, Clay Curtin, Judy Heron, Rebecca Lecky. For administrative services, we have Sandy Pimentel, Kristen Struby, Ying Chen. Community development, Deanna Chow, Charles Andrews, Vaughn Malathong. Library and community services, Sean Reinhart, Nick Segeda, Rondell Howard, Natalia Jones. Police, Dave Norris, Tony Dixon, TJ Moffitt, Danny O'Connor. And Public Works, Aaron Romero, Adali Arroyo, Tanisha Werner, and Hugh Lauch. Next slide, please. So we've collapsed the overall budget calendar just kind of into major milestones that occur throughout the months of the major budget process, but there are actually steps that occur throughout the year in monitoring and potentially amending the budget should new council priorities come up, new city needs. So the month of February is really the laying of the foundation for the budget in preparation for OpenGov and creating the labor file as personnel, the city as a service provider largely has a personnel services budget. And there's a lot of key elements that go into that, and those feed into the budgets for departments for them to develop their budgets. In March, we have the budget guidelines and templates for the department budget kickoff, and we provide a forecast for the fiscal year year-end amounts using March year-to-date information, and that forecast is updated later in May using April information to make it as current as possible as we progress through the budget process. For April, department budgets are complete, internal service funds are allocated, city manager reviews department budgets and fund balance so that we have a collaborative process and we ensure that we've covered everything that the city needs to be able to present to the city council and to the community. We incorporate service level enhancements and budget principles to present to the city council for staff direction. In May, the budget stories and transparency, page graphs and tables are developed, and then that forecast is updated. In June, we have the public workshop this evening, public hearing and anticipated budget adoption by the end of June for July 1 start date. Next slide, please. There's one more piece. There. This is just the graphical presentation of the overall budget process with the departments submitting their requests, the city manager's recommended budget, then going to the city council members and getting community member input on that budget and leading us into the budget hearing June 14th with the anticipated adoption June 28th. Next slide, please. In the budget, we have continuing council priorities that we have more information on in the budget itself, the transparency portal, and we also report on these council priorities and updates regularly. We have the 2023 housing element, which you might recall there was a presentation last evening, climate action plan, Connect Menlo community amenities list update, Menlo Park Community Campus, and Caltrain Rail Corridor Quiet Zone analysis. And there are other priorities that will continue to be evaluated through the process. Next slide, please. So for fiscal year 2022-23, there are city council considerations as part of the budget, the June 14th and 28th public hearings. For the baseline budget, we are working to fill vacancies as we've reported on in previous meetings. There's a high vacancy rate and we're working very hard to fill those vacancies. So you'll note them being filled through the new budget. We've included the $3.1 million capital improvement program transfer that goes from the general fund to the capital program. The service level enhancements that had been previously proposed to the council have been included with an initial cost of $3.1 million for further staff direction. And ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. This is the federal stimulus of about $8.3 million. The city must use these funds by December 2024. For fiscal year 2021 to 22, the budget authorized $2.91 million. And only $0.85 million was used because revenues were actually higher than anticipated, which is a good thing. For fiscal year 2022-23, the budget includes $3.7 million. $2.4 1.06 million is remaining from that prior authorization, and 1.64 million would be the new proposed authorization. And next slide, please. For revenues, we have, I'm going to have actually turn this over to Marvin Davis to take the revenues and expenditures discussion. He's the interim finance director.
Thank you, Mary. And this slide gives us highlights of revenue and expenditure trends over the period from 2018-19 going forward. And we have a chart on the next slide. The first thing you'll recognize is that due to the pandemic, we had about a 14 million loss citywide from 1920 to 2021. The general fund accounts for about 7.3 million of that, and you'll have a slide showing that. The city did a rebound from the pandemic for the fiscal year after it at about 35.3 million. Of the 35.38 million is included in that for opera. And so you'll see the chart that shows that. General fund accounts for about 8.3 million of that increased rebound. The largest categories, as you'll see in the chart, were charges for services citywide and taxes for the general fund in the form of TOT as well as sales taxes. Property taxes were not that impacted at all. And then the expense side, you will see over the same period, a reduction of about 4.3 million during the same side, and the city went down to 44 FTEs during the same time. And so now here is the chart that I referenced. You can see from 1920 to 2021, the pandemic period, you can see the dip in revenues. And when you notice the red bar in 2021-22 forecast, the red bar is the ARPA money that you can see here. And you also see for the next budget, the city is anticipating rebounding without any additional stimulus for the budget. That's citywide. Now we look at the general fund, and the general fund again follows the same dip of the same period of time, 1920 to 2021. You can also see in the general fund's budget the use of ARPA. So ARPA came in, it's forecasted to come in at the end of this year into a segregated fund other than the general fund. The general fund will receive a transfer in, this is what's being proposed. And you also will see the rebalancing of the internal service funds. This is a one-time year rebalancing. So it's good receipts for the general fund for this 1 year. Okay. General fund expenses typically follow the same level as the overall city. And you'll notice the big red bar. These are the additional FTEs that is being requested, proposed, as well as COLA and all other type of adjustments that we can we'll get into when we look at the assumptions. Okay, and that's the general funds look, which is the additional service level enhancement requests. Okay, so here are the major assumptions driving everything citywide. So you kind of have a mixture here of general fund as well as other things happening citywide, but predominantly this is what's driving property tax forecasted, estimated over the forecast. So when we estimate property taxes, we're going over the forecast, not the prior adopted budget. We see TOT estimated 2 million, over the forecast, including Citizen M. We have the ARPA proposed to come in 3.7, as Mary had mentioned. We have a one-time rebalancing inflow into the general fund of about 3 million. And as you'll be able to see that the intent of these internal service funds was not to build up a balance. Only balance should be is in the vehicle replacement fund. And the expense side, we have 290 FTEs. This includes an additional 18.75. We have COLAs. We're going with a 2% CPI against benefits. I know we could have went a little higher, but we were going with a 2%. We don't have to fund OPEB. The city has a 3 million credit in its OPEB trust. There is funding for the unfunded actuarial liability of $1 million, and the city is on a 15-year amortization schedule to fully amortize that. The budget assumes a vacancy, 5%. We are including 3 million transfer to general capital. The reserve assumptions. The reserve assumptions are being maintained in terms of the policy that council had put forward, 15 to 20 for emergency, and the actual underneath this assumption is 15. Economic policy, reserve policy 2025, underneath these assumptions, we're coming in at 21. The unassigned fund balance for the forecast, 9.6, but the estimated unassigned at this proposed level is 5.4 billion. So those are the major assumptions driving the city's budget. Okay, these are the assumptions that are driving the non-departmental budgets. And underneath council direction, we have segregated one-time developer type of receipts into their own fund to be able to clearly estimate the general fund properly. We will receive a 1.3 million into this one-time fund. The fund numbers are none of this funds, it's the general fund. We're looking at a Bayfront developer, 2.5 Facebook here. In lieu amenities, this is about 20 million, all coming into these separate funds. And then the internal service fund allocation, you see the normal revenue allocations, about 3 points. So balancing is a little bit here, but when you see the outgoing of the internal service funds, you see the 6.2 outgoing. That's essentially, we're essentially clearing out internal service funds and only leaving a balance in the vehicle replacement fund. The expenses is ARPA, which is its own fund. City Council servicing of the GO bonds increased to 2.4, about from 1.8 due to the issuance of new bonds. And so these are the major assumptions for the non-departmental funds. Okay, citywide FTEs, you can see the reduction from 1920, 2021, so about 44 FTEs. And then you can see that the city is coming back, requesting to come up to 290 for the FTEs, including the service level enhancements. Okay, so this next section, we're going to turn this over to department budgets, and I think Justin is going to begin.
Yes, thank you, Marvin. So I will launch into the first department overview. But before I do, I just want to let people know that the presentation that we're sharing with you right now and access to the proposed budget through our OpenGov portal is available on the city's website now. So if you're interested in accessing those, you can go to menlopark.org/budget, and then you'll see links to both the presentation and to the proposed budget. So just wanted to let people know that if you'd like to go back to any of the previous slides that we've been sharing as you prepare for any questions or comments, you can go to menlopark.org/budget to access these slides. So with that, I'll cover the first portion of the budget that we refer to as general administration, and it's a combination of various aspects of the city's government, mainly focused on policy, legal, leadership, and management services for the entire city. So this does include the city council, city attorney, city manager's office, which has 4 main focus areas of city clerk, communications and public engagement, sustainability, and economic development. So across all of those various functions, the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget expenses would be 5.7 million. So with the listing of the 19 full-time equivalents, that includes our 5 elected city council members. They do get compensated very modestly for all the effort and work they put in, but they are considered a full-time equivalent. So that would leave 14 full-time equivalents. This does not include the city attorney function that is through a contract. So of those 14 full-time equivalents, there are 3 proposed staff positions as part of the proposed budget, 1 in city clerk's function area, 1 in public engagement, and 1 in sustainability. So the next slide. Great. So in terms of some of the accomplishments and highlights from the past year, it's been a lot of focus on response to the pandemic. So over the past year, coordinated a phased reopening of city facilities. You'll see for this next item, this will appear in a number of department highlights as related to the new Menlo Park Community Campus. The main focus of the effort was led through the city manager's office, but it touches on just about every department in the city. So very important project that is council priority, touches vast parts of the organization. Next item related to the Independent Redistricting Commission. The city clerk's office was instrumental in accomplishing that this year. And so the district boundaries for the council districts are set for this November's election. So next slide, please. All right, so in terms of some other highlights, the city has transitioned to a new website, new hosting provider and content management system, provide support to the Reimagining Public Safety Subcommittee. The sustainability function of the city manager's office was also instrumental in the solar microgrid as part of the new Menlo Park Community Campus project. And last item here is the sustainability also did present cost effectiveness and policy options report to the city council regarding the city's climate action plan, goal number 1. So next slide, please. So in terms of initiatives for next year, general administration is providing support for the city council recruitment efforts to hire a permanent city manager. We'll be coordinating the restart of city special events and community programming along with the other city departments. Implementing milestones for climate action plan strategies, namely goal number 1 and goal number 5, geared towards electrification of existing buildings and elimination of fossil fuels for city operations. And then, as I mentioned previously, there's the upcoming district elections for 3 of the 5 council districts. Next slide, please. So in this current fiscal year, due to a number of transitions, the city council has opted to not pursue a goal setting process for this year, but we know that that will be important for next fiscal year. So that's a key initiative. And then as mentioned previously, there's a big focus on being able to build staff capacity through our various recruitments. And then lastly, there's a number of system improvements that we're looking to advance. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mary Morris Mayorga to cover the Administrative Services Department.
Thank you, Justin. For administrative services, the department provides citywide support services through finance, human resources, and information technology. Those would be providing accounting, payroll, recruiting, benefits, training, technology solutions, and technical support to be able to support the entire city in performing their functions and providing excellent service to the extent that we have the capacity to do so. Our proposed fiscal year 2022-23 budget, we have expenses of 8.26 million and 26.5 FTEs. Next slide, please. Some accomplishments and highlights, though it's been a very busy year for this department, but I wanted to highlight a few. For finance, there was the continued transition and improvements to OpenGov accounting system, developed a variety of standardized accounting procedures, and began producing monthly budget versus actual reports. This is really key in helping departments to develop budgets and to provide information to the community. Human resources implemented and revised policies addressing COVID-19. That's created a lot of a workload for the staff to continue to monitor that, and they've been very good about keeping policies and employees informed as to the actions that they need to take. Digitized workforce management tools. Being remote, we've needed to find ways to do work differently, and there's been a lot of systems put into place, and we're going to continue doing that to be able to work remotely to the extent we need to. Labor negotiations for the Police Officers Association and the Police Sergeants Association. And for information technology, enhancements for technology infrastructure and enterprise applications related to the digitized workforce management. They all kind of intermingle because we're trying to keep the systems running. Implemented digital feature of land management software and enhancements to GIS for software or for application integrations. Next slide, please. For 2022-23 initiatives, we will be in finance completing the finance system implementation, including workflows and capital assets integration into the system. These are tracked differently outside of the system, so we really want those integrated to the extent that we can do so. Creating a citywide cash forecast so that we can take advantage of market investment returns when they're higher, and so that we have invested to the extent that we can for liquidity purposes. Continue financial reporting and transparency improvements. In human resources, we will be continuing to fill those position vacancies and support employee retention. This is going to be really key for the next couple of years. Agencies, cities, private companies have experienced a lot of turnover, and we want to keep employees engaged to the extent we can and happy to work for the city. So we're looking for different ways that we can do that. One of those is to develop and improve employee performance management system. And then Along with that, we'll be continuing the transition to the new Human Resources Information System. In information technology, continue implementation of IT master plan initiatives. This is about the 5th year of those. Last year, this current year is the 5th year. So we're going into a new 5-year plan that we may be looking to update. Cybersecurity enhancements. This is critical. With the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of cybersecurity incidents, and the IT staff works diligently to protect the city from those. And continuing streamlining business processes. Next slide. And now I'm going to turn it over to Police Chief David Norris.
All right, thanks, Mary. Okay, so on the police department side, we operate with 4 distinct divisions within the police department. The patrol division, which is the officers in uniform, black and white vehicles that you see on the street, as well as the motorcycle unit, bicycle unit, etc. The investigations team, which are our detectives, they take the cases that have a little bit more complexity or that may expand out beyond just our Menlo Park jurisdiction. And communications and dispatch, just these folks do not just our dispatch services, but also our records bureau. They're handling all the inner workings. They're taking the phone calls that are coming in on 911, and then the administration. And really, you know, when you talk about a police department operation, it really is an organization within an organization. There are a lot of employees here. So all of the recruiting, hiring, training, onboarding, and care and policy maintenance and training to policy, et cetera, all of that falls under administration services. So go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. So our budget set for this upcoming budget season is $22.9 million overall. That includes 69.5 full-time employees. That is up 7 employees this coming budget season, is pending approval compared to the last year's budget. I wanted to give a quick illustration of how that works in terms of the amount of budget that's dedicated just to the people within the organization. So as you see here, the salaries and wages, which are contractually set through the labor organizations, as well as the personnel benefits, and then anticipated patrol overtime, which some of that is actually built into the officers. They work 12-hour schedules. It's about 86% of the operating budget, which really leaves us about 14% for the operation of the department outside the people who are operating within it. So could you advance to the next slide, please? In terms of service level enhancements, we have a couple of things coming in this coming budget cycle. We are asking for 3 additional police officers. We stood up our traffic unit this past year, despite having been still shorthanded and trying to get our traffic unit out on the street, knowing that traffic would increase kind of towards the tail end of the pandemic and as we get out of the pandemic. That has been difficult to do. We do need some extra support to kind of bolster that staffing level. So we're asking for those 3 officers. Community service officers, which we asked for last year, wasn't part of last year's budget cycle. So we're looking for it again. We're looking to add a component to our patrol division that will help us with response to certain calls for service that don't really require an armed response or a fully sworn police officer, and helps us to kind of hold up the operating needs of our patrol division. And then the additional community service officer that we're asking for is strictly dedicated to community outreach. And so that person will be assigned to our community engagement office to help with recruiting, to help with initiatives like National Night Out and Faith and Blue Weekend, places and spaces where we can reach out and connect with our community. And then we also are looking at a full-time employee that will be really a resource for the entire city organization and an asset of the entire city organization that will be entirely City of Menlo Park's resource to help us with emergency preparedness that would replace kind of what is a partial resource that we get from Menlo Park Fire Protection District. Go ahead and advance to the next. So quickly through our accomplishments and the highlights from this past fiscal year. As much of the community knows, we've been working very hard on this Reimagining Public Safety initiative, and the subcommittee, which includes myself, council members, as well as an academic and the city manager. And we have facilitated some meetings in each of the 5 council districts that allowed for a meeting outside the presence of police to give as much of an open channel of communication as possible to our public, to provide us with really deep feedback about how we are doing our job and what we could be doing better. And then public feedback that has been derived from these meetings that will help us to inform our policing strategy moving forward. We also had a very significant need for changing our reporting requirements. So we have had to transition from what you may have seen in previous crime dashboards from Menlo Park PD, which is based on uniform crime reporting, which is the kind of the old national system, to a California incident-based reporting system. It's just a change in the way that we document crimes to give some more detail and provide some clearer transparency to our public. And then the adoption of the Racial Identity Profiling Act, which is what we call stop data. So every time a police officer makes a stop detention on a member of the public, there's a more robust set of information coming back. That puts a pretty heavy burden on our records bureau. And so those things are really important to note. Next slide. So in terms of additional accomplishments and highlights, we, in coordination with Public Works, we've purchased electric patrol vehicles for a pilot program. Those 3 Teslas are actually on their way down now in Southern California, getting the first part of their outfitting done, and we hope to have them on board by the middle to end of summer. Completed some legislation mandated training in response to best practices in progressive policing along the lines of use of force, as well as some required de-escalation and other trainings, as well as additional voluntary training that our department provides for crisis intervention, mental health awareness, and de-escalation on our responses, as well as principles of procedural justice and principled policing. These things are important for our officers from one stop to the next, from one contact to the next. And so we're dedicated to getting those things out to our cops. And then we deployed the traffic unit, as I said, to address the re-emerging traffic. That is something that we need to bolster through these oncoming police officers that we're asking for in the upcoming budget. Next slide, please. And just some initiatives as we look forward into this upcoming fiscal year, using that feedback from Reimagining Public Safety, some transparency presentations that we've been talking about, as well as returning to our Community Police Academy and providing information to our public in person, as well as Community and Police Advisory Roundtable, which will be the next iteration of what was a Chiefs Advisory Group, but we have police officers that really want to sit at the table and have dialogue with members of our community. We're looking forward to that. We're implementing a new technology tool that will help us to provide surveys back to our community to gauge how we're doing, gauge the sentiment of our public, and help us to do our job better. We are going to be looking to reformat our daily police log. We've got a lot of good feedback from the public about how we may be able to provide something more informative, and our data dashboards. And then also refreshing our annual report, which has a limited amount of information on it. We'd really like to expand, continuing our bicycle team expansion that has had tremendous feedback from the community, the electric vehicles that we spoke of a minute ago, and as well as expanding our community outreach team, and that will be through the addition of that community service officer. Next slide. And I think that takes us to Public Works, and I believe Nikki Nagaya is here to help us out with that.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Norris said, I'm Nikki Nagaya, Public Works Director for the city. So I'll just give you a brief overview of the Public Works Department and our proposed budget for the year. So overall, the department's responsible for building and maintaining city's infrastructure and facilities. providing street, sidewalk, water, stormwater, parks, trees, and transportation services. And as shown here, we have 3 divisions that make up the department. The engineering team designs and oversees development and construction of the capital projects within the city's utility system, including Menlo Park Municipal Water, stormwater and flood protection systems. We oversee a closed landfill at Bedwell Bayfront Park, and also have a development services section in engineering that ensures private development and activities within the right-of-way meet all the required standards and conditions set by the city. Our maintenance division provides many of the basic services affecting daily lives of everyone who lives, works, visits, and commutes within the city. This division supports all the other departments within the city as well by maintaining 26 city facilities, 200 vehicles and pieces of equipment in the city fleet, 14 parks and 2 open spaces, 97 miles of streets, and over 20,000 public trees in our parks and on the streets. And finally, the transportation division manages movement of people and goods throughout the city by providing a network for multimodal transportation. They manage 42 traffic signals and 22 street lights, as well as the roadway signs marking city shuttle program and safe routes to schools program. So just in terms of an overview of the department size and budget, we currently have 72 full-time employees, with 2 more proposed in this upcoming fiscal year budget, which I'll explain in just a moment. Total revenue anticipated at just under 35 million and expenses at just under 40. So those revenues expenses support the 10 different service programs listed on the right side of the slide. And those are funded through about 25 different special funds for specific services and maintenance that are used for each of those services. To cover things like water capital and operations, different impact fee programs, as well as countywide sales tax measures for services like transportation. So next slide, please. And some of the highlights and accomplishments over the last year are listed here. You heard earlier about the City Council's goals and priorities for the year. And so you'll see this list tracks pretty closely with a lot of those goals, as well as our city manager described the Menlo Park Community Campus construction. So I won't go into any more detail with that tonight. We've also begun an implementation study for a rail quiet zone along the Caltrain line. This would be critical to reducing horn noise at the 4 at-grade crossings within the city. The teams also made progress on the Middle Avenue Complete Streets study and rail crossing projects, with key milestones over the last year to begin the design work with Caltrain on the rail undercrossing, as well as the City Council approving the purchase agreement for the property that's needed to construct the ramps for the undercrossing, and also seeking funding to complete that project as well. Along those same lines, we've secured a number of different grant funds for transportation resiliency projects. Of particular note in that topic is a grant award for which we're awaiting final notification from the Federal Emergency Management Agency for climate resilient infrastructure, particularly sea level rise protection along the bay. And then we've completed a number of paving, flood control, and park improvement projects, which I'll talk about a little bit later when we cover the city's capital program in a little more detail. And finally, we received the Tree City USA Growth Award from the Arbor Day Foundation and have planted over 170 trees this year. Next slide. So some of the planned initiatives for next year are anticipating completing the Menlo Park Community Campus building and microgrid construction, which will be a very exciting milestone. Continue to advance transportation priorities according to the goals that were adopted in the city's transportation master plan adopted in 2020. Continue the timely processing of encroachment permit and development applications for work within the city right-of-way and private property. And then working to reduce the capital project backlog. Again, I'll cover the capital program in a little bit more detail later in the presentation. So get to that in just a moment. The department's also been working over the last few years on completing accreditation through the American Public Works Association to highlight best practices and working to improve how we do our work. And finally, a couple of the initiatives at the bottom of this list are related to service level enhancement requests. So the first is to expand drought outreach to our water customers and begin installing automated water meters. So with the drought that's been ongoing now for a couple of years, but has been escalating, particularly over this last winter, we're expecting to need to move into higher water conservation tiers, and then also a need to expand the outreach. So we have a request for a position to support that outreach work. We look to continue our resiliency efforts in planning and implementing Safer Bay within Menlo Park. So we have a request for a full-time employee to manage that project, and that employee would be provisional for the life of the work related to that project. And finally, a request for contract services for herbicide-free median maintenance. So several years ago, the City Council authorized herbicide-free parks initiative in the city. So we haven't been using herbicide now for a number of years, but we're starting to see that our roadway medians are in need of additional attention since we're not spraying them with herbicide any longer. So there's a contract services request included in the service level enhancements for additional support for maintaining those medians. And with that, I will turn over to Sean Reinhardt, who's our Library and Community Services Director, to talk about LCS.
Thanks, Nikki. I'm here to talk about the Library and Community Services Department. Quick overview, our department is responsible for a diverse array of lifelong learning and recreational opportunities for Menlo Park residents of all ages, abilities, and lived experiences. And to do that, we employ skilled and qualified personnel supported by contracted help and dedicated volunteers to deliver high quality public services to the Menlo Park community. Next slide. Some of our guiding principles really set forth by City Council in multiple documents can kind of be summarized in this one, taken from the cost recovery policy updated by City Council last year. It's that the City of Menlo Park prioritizes social justice and decisions that affect residents' lives, the fair, just, and equitable management of all institutions serving the public directly or by contract, the fair, just, and equitable distribution of public services and implementation of public policy, and the commitment to promote fairness, justice, and equity in the formation of public policy. It's just a few of the guiding principles that we keep in mind as we're delivering services to the community. Next slide, please. The range of services that we provide range from public libraries to recreation and athletics, early childhood education, school age programs, childcares, all the way up to senior center services, of course, and the others that you see here on the screen. So quite a bit of activity in the department. Next slide. Here's a picture of the department team. We were able to get together in person for an all hands retreat in April. And we took a moment outside of the gatehouse here to take a photo of the team assembled here. Next slide. Some of our accomplishments and highlights in the current fiscal year, there's too many to name. I think the big one, though, is our staff has shown their incredible resiliency and commitment to service throughout the pandemic and certainly this fiscal year. But in some of the other highlights really that they supported were to safely reopen public facilities to indoor public access after the extended closures that were necessary due to the pandemic, relocating multiple public services to interim service locations to make way for the construction of the Menlo Park Community Campus project, also initiated planning for the new facility and the anticipated opening next year, which we're very excited about. We also secured a combined total of $1.685 million in grants to support our child cares, literacy, capital improvements, and other initiatives. Next slide, please. Let's see. Sorry, the title on this slide is not correct. This list here is our initiatives for the coming fiscal year, in fiscal year 2022-23. So apologies for that. But that's what these bullet points are for the year ahead. And that is to prepare for the Menlo Park Community Campus opening, to research and recommend to City Council an aquatics operator at the Burgess Pool as well as the pool at the new facility. We're in the middle of implementing a new registration management software platform, part of the IT master plan. Later this summer, we're starting a pilot project to provide neighborhood access to the Bellhaven School Field after school and weekends. Our target is to increase enrollment to full capacity at our preschools this fiscal year. Supporting Public Works during a major renovation of Willow Oaks Park. And should the City Council approve the service level enhancement in this budget proposal to reactivate the youth gymnastics program. Next slide, please. Here's a rendering of the Menlo Park Community Campus, now under construction due to open next year. Can't wait to get in there. It's going to be really exciting for the community. Next slide, please. The high points of our proposed fiscal year 22-23 budget. Revenues projected at 5.37 million, expenses at 13.75 million. Proposed 66.25 full-time equivalent employees. That does include 5.75 full-time equivalents. Thank you. 5.75 full-time equivalents, which will be on the next slide for the gymnastics program. Just by way of comparison, the last full pre-pandemic fiscal year of 2018-19, the actuals there were revenues of 6.84 million, expenses of 13.02 million, and at that time there were 70.75 FTEs in the department. That was in 2018-19. Next slide, please. The one service level enhancement being proposed to City Council in this budget is to reactivate the gymnastics program. 5.75 full-time equivalent employees as part of that. That's the level that was when the program was in operation before the pandemic. We're projecting revenues of $450,000 in the upcoming fiscal year. Again, should City Council authorize reactivating it. That's about half of what would come in a typical year, understanding that it will take some lead time to reactivate and to phase in the operations. We anticipate full cost recovery in the following fiscal year once the program's fully up and running. But in the coming fiscal year, the expenses in the service level enhancement, including those full-time equivalent employees, come out to $838,000. There's some key reactivation steps here on the slide. City Council also has reviewed this proposal in some detail, most recently on April 12th. Next slide, please. And just to close out, another rendering of the Menlo Park Community Campus facility. This is a view of the pool with the fitness center and dance studio up above, again, opening next year. And with that, I will turn over the presentation to Assistant Community Development Director, Deanna Chow.
Great, thank you, Sean. As Sean mentioned, I'm Deanna Chow, the Assistant Community Development Director, and I'm here to present the highlights from this fiscal year and our proposed budget for the fiscal year 22-2023. So the Community Development Department works to ensure a sustainable and vibrant community for its residents, businesses, and visitors. We perform a number of core services, and our team includes staff in current planning, long-range planning, plan checking, permitting, and building inspections in the building division, and programs to assist with housing preservation and production, particularly affordable housing through the city's below market rate housing program through our housing division. Community development staff also serve as the liaisons to the Planning Commission and Housing Commission. Next slide, please. So we have a number of accomplishments that we've highlighted here for you this evening. As I mentioned, a core service in community development is processing and permitting land development projects. And during this fiscal year, we continue to enhance Acella's process for managing workflows. And Acella is the city's land management system that was launched a few years ago. So additional enhancements include a shift to all electronic building permit issuance and improved communications with our customers. In terms of housing, we have several key accomplishments for assisting persons, particularly of lower income households. So we are pleased to have released 25 below market rate housing units near downtown. These include 20 units at the Springline development, as well as 5 low-income units at the Realm development at 1545 San Antonio Street. The City Council also authorized 1.2 million of our below market rate housing funds to support homeownership preservation program with Habitat for Humanity. This program will assist low-income homeowners in Menlo Park with major repairs and rehabs that address safety issues and will enable homeowners to age in place. Next slide. Oh, actually, sorry, to keep it on the one other item that I'd like to highlight for housing is also the City Council's authorization for $250,000 of the American Rescue Plan funds to increase financial support to the Housing Assistance Program. And this program is administered by the Samaritan House and assists with rental and mortgage assistance, as well as household or items related to the COVID-19 pandemic and other emergency circumstances. So thank you. If you can move to the next slide. So continuing on with other accomplishments in this fiscal year, as mentioned earlier a couple of times, one of the City Council's priorities is the housing element update, which includes the housing element itself, which is a state mandated document as part of the city's general plan, as well as we initiated the city's first environmental justice element. So just a little plug, our draft housing element is out for public review currently. So it is available on our webpage at menlopark.org/housing element. And we are seeking public comment until this Friday on the draft document. So excited to have that released as a major milestone. Moving on, in terms of other development projects, we had a number of certificate of occupancies issued this year in the El Camino downtown corridor, as well as the Bayfront, and that includes projects such as the Guild Theater, the 1540 El Camino Real project, portions of Springline, as well as Meta's Building 22 and the pedestrian overcrossing at Bayfront Expressway. Not yet in the building stage yet, but projects that were approved were 3 bonus level mixed use and residential developments, which total nearly 1,000 housing units and would provide $23 million in community amenities. Next slide, please. And so looking at the proposed budget for the 22-23 budget, community development expects that demand for land development services will continue as we continue to process large development projects and as projects move through the building permit process and construction phases. To meet this continued demand, the building and planning divisions are requesting increases in both increases in contract services. And we're also seeking a service level augmentation with 1 FTE in the housing division. The additional staff and resources would maintain service delivery levels and help retain existing staff, provide flexibility in recruiting, and address current and projected demand for development and building permit reviews. The majority of planning, of our budget is cost recoverable. Our anticipated revenues for this upcoming fiscal year is $13.4 million, and that does include expected revenues through our below market rate housing program, and our expenses are about the same, about $13.1 million. And then moving on to our initiatives. Many of our existing accomplishments, we hope to continue our success in the upcoming fiscal year with the completion and adoption of the housing element update. We will continue to coordinate a number of large entitlement review and building permits. We do have 2 60-acre master plan projects on file, in addition to a number of other projects that are pending in the Bayfront area, as well as I mentioned, those projects that have been approved, which are moving forward in the building permit stage and construction phases, which will require that additional staffing that I mentioned. We'll continue to improve upon our accomplishments in Acela through launching our electronic document review system. So that is sometimes we might hear it referred as DigiPlan, which we will be anticipating to launch next week and fully implement in the upcoming fiscal year, and that will help provide a consolidated set of comments and hopefully ease the plan review process for our customers. This year, we're also looking to do adoption of the new code cycle. This occurs every 3 years. And then again, looking to further enhance our housing production and preservation. We'll be looking to update as a second phase our below market rate housing program to explore our commercial linkage fees and our inclusionary requirements, and then also look to release a NOFA, Notice of Funding Availability, which is used to support affordable housing production and preservation. So some of the BMR monies that I mentioned earlier help support the upcoming NOFA. And with that, I will forward it to Nikki Nagaya, who will review the capital improvement program.
Great, thank you, Deanna. So back to give a brief overview of our capital improvement program, or CIP. So next slide, please. In general, the CIP outlines the overall vision for short and long range development, maintenance, improvement and building of new infrastructure and assets across the city. So in the program this year are 62 funded and carryover projects. There are 25 that are proposed for new funding next fiscal year, and those are spread across seven different categories as listed here, ranging from city buildings, environment, stormwater, streets, and water and others. We also have 12 programmatic categories of projects where those serve as essentially minor savings accounts for upgrades and changes on a minor scale that need to happen from a maintenance perspective in certain areas like parks, sports fields, traffic signal modifications, things that we know will have recurring needs year over year. We program on an annual basis in those 12 categories. Next slide, please. Funds for the capital improvement program come in part from a number of different services. So first and foremost is an annual transfer of approximately $3 million from the general fund that our finance director, Marvin, talked about that a little earlier as well. So that's planned for this upcoming year also. And we also supplement that with grant sources, as I talked about earlier. And then we have dedicated funding sources for things like water, transportation, storm, solid waste, and other particular topic areas. And there are also often development agreement community benefits that are identified through development projects, as well as in this upcoming fiscal year, we're also looking to expend Measure T recreation bonds for a number of parks projects, including towards the Menlo Park Community Campus construction as well. In prior fiscal years, we'd also seen transfers at the end of the year that were used to pre-fund capital projects. So that helped us advance a number of large capital investments like the Santa Cruz Avenue sidewalks, the phase 1 construction from downtown to Hillview Middle School, the Chrysler Pump Station, Nealon Park Playground, as well as Sharon Road sidewalks, which are excited to get into construction in the next few weeks as well. Next slide, please. So highlights of some of the completed projects that have been finished over this last fiscal year. We repaved Middle Avenue, as well as Willow Road from Chester to Middlefield. Willow Road was using a new treatment with rubberized asphalt. And then we installed hydration stations at a number of city parks and facilities around the city, completed pathway replacement and repairs in Sharon Park, and then completed a number of tasks in one of those programmatic categories I mentioned earlier for our city buildings, including a pool chemical room at the Burgess Pool, renovations there, completing electrical and equipment upgrades to allow for the next generation 911 service in our police department, and also replaced a roof at the Menlo Atherton Cooperative Nursery School. The city owns that building and leases out to the nursery school. In addition to those 7 projects, we also completed 2 key water plans over the last year. The first was our urban water management plan, which is an update we have to complete every 5 years to plan out the water needs for our Menlo Park municipal water system. And then also completed a earthquake operations plan in the event of an earthquake to enhance our emergency preparedness. Next slide. So some of the new projects that are planned for proposal in next year's budget are summarized on this slide. The first 2 are identified to support the City Council's priorities and work plan projects. So these 2 in particular related to climate action plan goal to eliminate fossil fuels from city operations by 2030. And so they're related to the Burgess Pool heating equipment, being able to convert that from natural gas to electric. So starting that process, as well as doing a study of the Civic Center, the Burgess Park campus electrical service to be able to expand that electrical system to support ongoing needs for building electrification as well as electric vehicle charging infrastructure. There are also a number of previously planned projects. So being a 5-year plan, we project out projects over the life of those 5 years, and each year we try to pace through and move things up that are ready to proceed into the next phase. So this list of 5 are things that were teed up over the last couple of years, include renovations to the Burgess Pool lobby, Willow Oaks Park improvements, as well as new park playground equipment at Willow Oaks and Burgess Parks, ongoing contributions towards the San Francisco Creek upstream flood control project, replacing the Pope Chaucer Bridge and doing channel improvements along that stretch of the creek to provide flood protection. And then advancing the Willow Road and New Bridge Street pedestrian bicycle improvements. We foresee the opportunity to obtain some grant funding, hopefully here, so are proceeding forward with some design work on those projects. And then finally, the number of maintenance and operational needs that have either surfaced over the last year or have been identified in prior years. And those are listed at the bottom of the slide. So replacements for the police radio equipment, replacing the Kelly Park turf and track, a storm system funding study, a shuttle system evaluation for which we obtained a grant to support that work, as well as a local road safety plan, and then a number of upgrades to the water system, including check valves at both the Burgess and Hill Avenue connections, where we connect to the SFPUC water system, as well as a booster pump station to enhance the emergency preparedness and resiliency of our system, particularly in the lower zone of the water system. Next slide. So just in terms of the financial investment across those 7 different categories that I mentioned earlier, this slide summarizes the new funding that's proposed by project category, the percentage of total funds that is allocated to each of those categories, and then the number of new project requests or new funding requests that are included in the draft CIP for next fiscal year. So in total, we're looking at a roughly $12.5 million investment in the capital infrastructure across the city, 25 different projects. And as I mentioned earlier, this comes from a number of funding sources, a $3 million transfer from the general fund, grants, and other places as well. So with that, we have a number of other slides on the capital improvement program that I can refer to in case of any questions tonight. But at this point, we will jump ahead a little bit to the next steps and the presentation. So again, we can come back to any of these, but Marvin, if you can jump down to, I think, slide 70, I will turn back to our city manager to wrap up tonight.
Great. So again, thank you, Nikki, and thank you to everybody that just shared a little bit of what's going on in Menlo Park and what's on the horizon. So as you can see, it's a total team effort to deliver services to the community. So again, thank you for all of those presentations. So I will talk about the next steps. So just to recap today's presentation plus the OpenGov proposed budget is available on the city's website at menlopark.org/budget. A video of today's workshop will be published later this evening. Definitely be ready by tomorrow morning, but if you're up late tonight, it should be ready later tonight. This next Tuesday, so June 14th, the date that's listed there, that is the next city council meeting. And that's going to be a public hearing on the budget. The primary topic of conversation next Tuesday is indeed the proposed budget. So later this week, there will be the staff report and the associated resolutions that would be released as part of the city council packet. So we will be putting forward all of the material that would be needed for adoption later in the month. But the purpose of the June 14th meeting is to get feedback from the public and the city council. So there may be some additional direction that comes from the city council. So there may be some revisions to the proposed budget. We would address any of the requested revisions and then come back to the city council for adoption on June 28th. There is the need to have an adopted budget before July 1. So it is important that we focus over the next couple weeks to achieve that budget adoption by the end of June. So those are the next steps. There are opportunities for the public to weigh in. There is a web form on the city's website to submit comments, questions. But this evening is also an opportunity that if there are questions, we're happy to field those this evening. Depending on the question, we would tap the most appropriate person to field the question. So with that, we can open up for any questions. I think we'll be tapping our city clerk extraordinaire, Judy Heron, to help with fielding any questions. So with that, Judy, if you wanted to assist if there are any questions that may be coming in.
Can do. So for folks that are joining us, you can use that raised hand feature in the bottom of your screen on your control panel. If you're calling in, you can also press *9. And we also have the Q&A feature in your control panel if you'd like to type in a question. I can get that to our panelists and get any questions, comments answered now. Right. So again, you can either speak live and use that raised hand feature, pressing *9 if you're calling in, or clicking that icon in the bottom of your screen. We've also got the Q&A, question and answer field. And then as Justin did mention, we're also accepting comments following this meeting and actually currently on our website. We will respond to those that are submitted via web form probably in the next day. But if there's any live questions, or comments, happy to address those now.
All right, so not sensing any questions right now. So I think with that, we will, I'll probably just make a few concluding remarks, and then we will sign off. So again, this presentation is being recorded. It'll be posted on the city's website shortly. There's the actual slide presentations that are available, and then most importantly, there's the OpenGov portal with the stories about the city's proposed budget. All of that is available, and we look forward to getting feedback. So again, I hope people appreciated the presentation this evening to get familiar with the proposed budget. A lot of hard work that has gone on over the past year and will continue into next year as we look to rebuild the organization and be able to restore some additional services that were suspended during the height of the pandemic. So we're looking forward to being able to reinvest in the community moving forward. So with that, not seeing any other questions at this time, we'll conclude today's workshop. Again, thank you for attending and participating this evening.